When I got deported back to Mexico in 2019, I thought my life was over. But I wish someone was there to tell me that things were going to be okay. It wasn't the end. God was only adding a new chapter to my life. Welcome to Hope After Deportation. My name is Jonathan, and I got deported to Mexico 6 years ago. In this video, I want to share things I wish I knew before being deported. Because actually, if I back up a little bit, this is my second deportation. But on my first deportation, that was in 2016, I was only in Mexico for 2 months. And in those 2 months, I didn't even get a job, didn't get none of my paperwork, because I was not planning on staying here. And my whole plan was to go back home. As weird as that might sound, I grew up in the States all my life, and that's all I knew. So that's where home was. So even though I wasn't supposed to be there, I wanted to be there because that's home to me. So, like I said, 2 months later, after my deportation, I went back illegally. And then fast forward in 2019, I get deported again. And y'all might be wondering, why did I get deported again? All of that. I already made a video on that, and so go check it out. So before I got deported this time in 2019, I had to serve prison time and all of that. So I had plenty of time on my hands to think about Mexico, what I was gonna do if I wanted to go back illegally. And if you ever been locked up, you already know what I'm talking about. You have plenty of time to think and daydream and all of this stuff, right? You're just locked up. So with all those thoughts that were going through my mind and all of that, I think I was drawing up like a picture of reality that really wasn't reality. I can't put it into words, but I think I was making it harder on myself mentally by all the thoughts that I was thinking and all of that. And I wish somebody was there to show me the ropes, to tell me that things were going to be fine, and it wasn't the end of this road. And if I would have known the things that I know now, after being here in 6 years, I'm pretty sure I would have saved myself a lot of confusion and just pain and just all this negative stuff that I was going through. Before I got deported, when I'd sit in prison, I'd be thinking about, am I going to be able to make a living? Because from those 2 months of experience in Mexico, um, what I saw was a lot of poverty, and I didn't want to live like that. Like, my life back in the States was totally different than in my 2 months in Mexico. So I didn't want to live like that. And so that was something that weighed on me heavy. I didn't want to live a life of poverty. And I didn't think you could make it. Not that I'm rich or anything now. Now I just live just a normal life. So yeah, so I just didn't understand everything that was going on. And who does, right? When you're going through something new in life, you don't understand everything fully. But as time goes by, then things start to make sense slowly but surely. They start to make sense. Something that I've been thinking about was that when I thought of deportation, I thought it erased who you were. But you continue to be the same person, but you're just relocated by force to a new location in life. And, for me, I grew up in Vegas, and now I have to live here in Rosarito because, yeah, this is just where He brought me. And who knows why I came here. I had plenty of other places to move to in Mexico, but for some reason, this is where I came to Rosarito. And which I'm grateful. Rosarito, if you guys have seen my videos, it's definitely a nice city next to the beach. We don't take advantage, as we should, of the beautiful beach. When I landed in Mexico for the first time, I say the first time, although this is my second time. It's my first time because, like I said, my First deportation, I was only here 2 months, and then I went back, and I didn't do anything here practically. I just was just hanging out with my uncle and my sister, and that's pretty much all I did. I didn't go out or nothing like that. So now 2019, in my mind, I think I knew deep down like I didn't want to go back, because if I go back, they'll hit me with re-entry, and then I gotta do federal time in prison, and I'm just not trying to mess with that, because minimum is 2 years for going back illegally if I get caught, which it's almost like 99% that I'm gonna get caught. So you know what, I'm not gonna mess with that. But there was that 1% of me that's like, man, I don't want to be here. And I hadn't experienced anything of Mexico yet, and I was just already trying to go back, just because over there is home, and here it's basically a foreign country to me. When I got deported and we landed on the US side, and then from there they took us to a bus and took us to Juarez, and from there we crossed the border, got into Juarez. And around that time it was about 5 to 6 p.m. because the sun was just going down. And once we got to the Mexican side in Juarez, we went into a building, and we had to get this like temporary ID and all this stuff. From there, by the time we got out of the building, it was already dark. The sun had went down, so it felt very eerie out there. And I had not been to Juarez before. When my first deportation, I got deported in Tijuana. So being in Juarez, it was eerie. I hadn't been there before, and everything just feels so foreign. Since this is my second time being deported, I already knew the get down a little bit. They took us to a place where we can stay to figure out what we were gonna do, if we were gonna stay there or go to our hometowns, wherever we were gonna go. But I had already planned it out. My wife Brooke, she was doing all the legwork. She had planned out the plan, and we were gonna meet up in Mexicali. So if you're planning on self-deporting, or if you could be deported, or whatever your situation might be, make sure you look into places that you want to live in Mexico. If you're married to a US citizen, my recommendation would be to be close to a border town, because your spouse, they can freely go on the other side for whatever reason it might be. You know, they're not stuck all the way down south in deep Mexico, and it makes it a little more complicating, or it can be more expensive with flights and all of that. So we live in Rosarito, and my wife, she's a US citizen, and she's able to cross to back to the States, you know, and she can do that more easily. So just keep that in mind as well. But if you're single, um, maybe going down south would be good for you. You have family. Yeah, if you have family in Mexico, I'd recommend to look into that, um, because rent out here is expensive. Since we've been out here in Rosarito, the rents have almost like doubled, tripled even. So it's rent has gotten expensive. So if your family lives down here, and they can help you out if they have property or something like that, go with that. And you know, that's gonna definitely help you with the whole process, because like I said, rent is expensive down here. So yeah, so I hope that yeah, I hope you take that advice and look into that, take that into consideration. Um, and for work, the best route that in my mind is to start your own small business. It doesn't matter what it is that you do. You can, like me for example, I do electrical slash remodeling services. But maybe you're a girl and you can offer beauty services, or you know, there's so many things you can do out here. It's a lot easier to open your business here than it is out in the States, because out in the States they have so many regulations. You got to get all these permits and all of that. Down here it doesn't really work that way. You do have to pull permits for your business and stuff like that, but it's a lot easier to get it. You basically get it the same day. So if you could do that, if you have a skill, and even if you don't have one, I encourage you to learn a skill. Like, the skill is so valuable that, you know, you can either you can start your own business or you can go get a job, and they're going to pay you based off your experience. So yeah, try to look into that, try to get a skill, learn a skill, um, learn multiple skills. I hear you can even sell stuff. Like if you have family that can come visit you and drop off stuff to you, you can go out to the swap meets, or they call them the tianguis or those sobre ruedas out here, and you can go sell. That's what me and my wife just started doing the last few weeks. We've been doing that, selling at the swap meet, and we used to do that before as well a couple years ago, and it was pretty good. But it was just hard for us to keep getting stuff because my wife, she would go out there and take the truck, um, fill it up with stuff, and then drive back over here to Mexico. But she would have to go all the way to Vegas because we don't have family in Cali. So it just started becoming a headache. Then yeah. So basically, all that to say is you can also sell, and if you don't have any skills, you can go work at a call center. So basically, don't be scared to have humble beginnings. We're all going to start off from the bottom. Nobody starts from the top unless you have major connections and all of that. But for the average person like me, we have to start from the bottom and work our way up. And again, I'm not at the top either. I'm just getting by. And, I'm grateful for that. God, He has His timing for everything. And things will be well. Even if they don't look like they're going well, just know God, He's sovereign and He's in control over every single situation. One of the hardest things about deportation is family and friends. Going through this, you realize that not everyone is going to stay in your life. And that's been the story of my life. I have like maybe one or two persons that I knew back in Vegas that randomly check in on me. But other than that, it's just me and my wife now and our little daughter, and just the people that we know here in Rosarito. So it's not that many. And with family, I don't really have a close connection with them. They're living their life, in which I understand. Life gets busy, so life just keeps going. But don't let that bring you down. Like, you'll make new friends here. Um, yeah, life is still going on out here. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. So yeah, don't let that stuff, that if you lose contact with people and all of that, don't let that bring you down. That's just a part of life. You're not there no more. So over here, you're going to make a new life. You'll have new friends and all that stuff. And I don't say that to discourage you by any means. I hope you keep contact with those people, those close friends that you made out there. But the reality of things is that's not the way things stay forever. And I'm just speaking on my experience. I thought my old friends and all of that, I would still talk with them and all of that, but that's just not the way it works. So yeah, we just got to keep pushing and just trust God in this process. Deportation, it shook my identity. I used to see myself as an American, and then suddenly reality sets in, and you're a Mexican. So now you committed crimes. Now you have to get out of this country that you call home and go to this other country that is where you were born. So this is where you belong. And honestly, that's something that weighed on me heavy back then. But now, after being here for 6 years, that's just what it is. That's just what God had ordained for my life. And I can have peace with it because it's God's will. Some things that I want to share with you guys that you guys should work on right away as you guys get to Mexico is getting, number one, getting your documents, because you need to have some identity to prove who you say you are. And so that means you have to get your CURP, your INE, your Mexican birth certificate, and that way you can get a job, and also for housing and all of that stuff. So make sure you get those right away. If you have a car, make sure to get your driver's license right away. And another thing, obviously, work. Make sure to start working right away as soon as you can. And like I said, don't be afraid to start small. If you can't start a small business, start working at a call center, or wherever it might be, wherever God places you, like, go do that. And remember, God, He can bless humble beginnings. So always keep that in mind. And also with Spanish, if it's not good like mine, make sure to practice it. Try to get with people that are Spanish speakers, speak with them. You got to practice it. And I say that because even me, after 6 years, I'm still practicing it. I'm still going through the motions with the whole Spanish stuff, because I'm not out there speaking with Spanish speakers every single day. And I think another big thing that would help you, I know a lot of people don't talk about this, deportation, it can take a toll on your mental health. Um, so many emotions can come out of nowhere, and I say that from experience. There was days where I couldn't handle it mentally, and yeah, it was hard for me. Thankfully, my wife, she was there since the beginning, and that was a blessing to have her with me since the beginning. At least there was somebody I can talk to, and all of that. But if I didn't have that, I would maybe look for a church, or um, something, some type of community to help cope with that. Because running to the alcohol, running to drugs, and all of that, none of that's going to help you. It's only going to help you for the moment, but once the effect wears down, you have to go do it again, so you forget about it, so you can try to cope with it. And I'm just speaking that from my experience. That's what I try to do, and none of that helped me. Only for the moment, but then the next day, everything came back again. So try to get community if you're out here by yourself. Get connected with people, and positive people too, people that are going to encourage you, people that are not out there wilding, because then, so yeah. So with that being said, yeah, get community, get people that you can trust and you can talk with, because that's going to be very important. And a big encouragement I say about community, if you could get plugged into a biblical church, that would be even better, because they're going to teach you truth, they're going to teach you about the Lord Jesus Christ. So um, if you could do that, that'd be even better. That'd be the best advice I can give you out of all this. Get plugged into a biblical church. With all of that being shared, I can now look back to the last 6 years, and I can see how, I came here broken and angry and just confused, wanting to go back home. But He turned all that pain into purpose, that purpose that I can share my story with you guys, and hopefully uplift you guys, encourage you through what I've gone through, and show you that life is not over. This is just a new chapter in life. And, this is not the end of our story. It's not. It keeps going, just in a new location, like I was saying. So if you're watching this right now and you feel hopeless, remember, there is hope after deportation. If you made it this far into the video, I want to thank you for watching and letting me share my story with you. If you've been through deportation or know someone who has, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. So make sure to drop a comment. And thank you for everybody that supports the channel. It truly is a blessing to have all of you to read all your comments. It's definitely encouraging. Thank you all for your support. It truly is a blessing. And with that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. God bless you.